This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Before I talk about prospects I don't like, let's talk about something I do like. I'm going to be live streaming days 1, 2, and 3 of the draft, so make sure that you join the watch parties for all of that. You'll see the notifications in your sub box, but just letting you know, I'm going to be live tonight. I'm going to be live tomorrow. I'm going to be live on day 3 of the draft, and we're going to be able to talk Browns and the draft and maybe even some little Cavaliers stuff, but go ahead, do that. Make sure you're locked in. Now back to the video. About to get hyped up a lot, and you just be sitting here like, I don't get it. I don't see it, right? And that doesn't mean that that player is going to be bad, and nobody who's named on this list, just because I put them here, doesn't mean that I think they're going to be awful in the NFL. It's just, I don't see the vision for whatever reason. Like, these are guys that when people hype them up to me, I just struggle to understand why you're getting all hyped up about that. But let's talk about it. First guy, Patrick Paul, left tackle out of Houston. I know why people are excited about Patrick Paul. He's 6'7". He's 315 pounds, not 50, 315 pounds. And he moves really gracefully at that size. I always get concerned about giant left tackles that don't look giant when you watch them play, right? Now, Dawand Jones, a giant left tackle, big build, 6'7", right? He's a little bit heavier than what most left tackles look like. But if you were casting for like a left tackle, Patrick Paul, he's the perfect left tackle. Like, that's what they're supposed to look like. They look like Patrick Paul. That's what like a top prospect would look like. If you told me that Patrick Paul in a movie was the best prospect in the NFL draft and was going to go number 1 overall, I would buy it. But in reality, there's some things that I worry about. Because again, when you're 6'7", when you're that long, when you're that big, I expect you to look that big when I see you play, right? Dawand Jones, big dude, giant dude. You watch him at the Senior Bowl, looks like a big dude. Plays like a big dude, goes to the NFL, hand snatch, length, big dude stuff. You don't get none of that from Patrick Paul, man. Patrick Paul got pushed around for 3 days in Mobile, Alabama, like a sled. It was a 6'7", 315 pound sled sliding all across that turf, left and right. Then you add on top of that he's 23 and a half years old, which isn't ancient for a college football draft prospect, but it is on the older side. And I always ask this question. You're 6'7", you are 315 pounds, and you are 23 and a half years old. You were playing in the American for most of your career. And at no point did you look like you should be around a first round draft pick. That's a concern. If you're telling me that you can mold this guy into the player that you need him to be, then you're telling me, like, unless Houston has like the worst coaches in college football, you're telling me that they just didn't try to coach him? Okay, and maybe the argument for Patrick, let me go back. Now, maybe the argument for Patrick Paul is that he's raw, but look at the app. You can't teach 6'7". You can't teach 315 pounds. You can't teach that athleticism at that size. Okay, that's all true. You cannot teach those things. But he's 23 and a half years old. He's been getting taught high-level football concepts at left tackle for 6 years. He gets to the Senior Bowl. It don't look like he learned a damn thing. So what are you going to teach this man in the 4 months before the NFL season that he did not learn in 6 years in college football? 6 years. I don't care if you don't think highly of his coaches at Houston or wherever he's played before Houston. 6 years. And nobody taught him how to get an anchor at 6'7", 300 pounds. He ain't got no anchor against American Conference guys. Damn sure didn't have no anchor against Big 12 guys. Like, just getting pushed around like a sled. But because he's 6'7", he's 315 pounds. I'm supposed to believe that that's going to magically get fixed because he's playing against much better players. Sometimes we let the ego of NFL coaching infect how we look at these prospects, because I don't want to hear about how raw a player is or how he just needs the right coaching to get right when they're 23 and a half years old. I just don't want to hear it. That man has had 6 years of coaching to get something right, right? Tyler Guyton's the same way, where it's like, it's still like he learned nothing. Like, you have to ask yourself, yeah, you can't teach 6'7". Yeah, you can't teach 315. He moves smooth at that size. You can't teach that. But can you teach him? What if you can't teach him? Another guy who falls under this list is Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson, again, 6'7", 237 pounds. And boy, when you see him, it catches he was at the Senior Bowl. When you see him, it catches your eye. You like, damn, that's got to be a tight end, right? Like, he's giant. You see him move a little bit, and you're like, okay, all right. Then you cut on that tape. And you see a lot of shit you don't want to see. 40.9% contested catch rate. Not great for somebody who is 6'7", 237 pounds. Like, that should be his jam. He should be a beast at that. He's not. A 10.9% drop rate, which is really bad. And there's a player that I think he's just like, that's playing good football, but good football for the the St. Louis Battlehawks, and it's Hakeem Butler. Johnny Wilson is a big guy. He's an athletic guy. He moves well at 6'7". He moves well at 237. I can see how you can watch the highlights and get intoxicated. Hell, you can watch the film, ignore all the drops, and get intoxicated. But much like Hakeem Butler, them drops are going to be an issue. When you 6'7", you can't be dribbling footballs out there. And Johnny Wilson be dribbling footballs, man. Like, you throw a quick slant to him, he dribbles that shit like 5 times out of 10. It's kind of concerning. I know some people are going to tell me in the comment section, well, maybe if you switch Johnny Wilson to tight end. One, just because you switch Johnny Wilson to tight end doesn't make him any better at catching the football. Honestly, it might make him worse, because he's not a great contested catch guy. He's not a great interior catch guy. He's not a great quick ball catch guy. So if you make him play tight end, where he has to catch quick balls, where he has to catch contested balls, where he has to be quick catch guy, is he going to be better at that, or are you asking him to do all the shit that he's bad at? Like, sometimes we have to stop assuming that we know more than the people who coach these players for years. I talked about this with Patrick Paul. It's a similar thing with Johnny Wilson. If Johnny Wilson could play tight end, we would have saw Florida State use him like that. But they never did. Bit of a concern here. Now, again, to the people who think you can flip him to tight end, my other point is you could flip him to tight end. Maybe, right? But switching from wide receiver to tight end is a significant position change. People bring up Darren Waller all the time. Quincy, Darren Waller did it, right? He switched from wide receiver to tight end, and look how he's doing. And I would point out to you, yes, Darren Waller did switch from wide receiver to tight end, but look how long that shit took. Look who actually benefited from Darren Waller switching from wide receiver to tight end. It wasn't the team that drafted him or picked him up, the Baltimore Ravens. It was the Raiders and then the Giants. My point is that is a transition that takes a while. So the team that drafts Johnny Wilson, even if he does make the successful switch to tight end, is not going to be the team that benefits from Johnny Wilson. It will be somebody else, which asks the question, why would you volunteer to be the guinea pig for him? I wouldn't. Again, and also when we talk about that transition to tight end, he's a solid run blocker as a wide receiver. But blocking DBs and the occasional linebacker at 6'7", 237 pounds in college football is much different than going down, playing tight end, and being asked to block edges. Sometimes you might get a defensive tackle on you. You're definitely going to get linebackers on you all the time. Hell, you're also going to have to pull. And not just pull, like pull into the C-gap. Can you do that? How long is it going to take to learn that? Are you that willing to invite physicality? The drops on the interior doesn't suggest to me somebody who would like to do that. And again, look where his drops are and look where he would run routes if he played tight end. And tell me that's what you want to do with him. I just don't see it with him. I get why people get excited. I get why people can see the potential. And if you close your eyes and you switch him to tight end, you might be able to fool yourself into thinking that's going to be successful. I just don't. And even if it is successful, it's years away from being successful. I don't really love the prospect of Johnny Wilson, in my opinion. The last prospect that people have been losing their minds over that I just don't get is Bo Nix. I went to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, excited to see Bo Nix and Michael Penix. And Bo Nix and Michael Penix were very disappointing to me at the Senior Bowl. I'll put it like this. After 3 practices, I'm just going to talk about I think they were on the American team. 3 practices, just watching the team that Bo Nix and Michael Penix was on, people were talking about how impressive Sam Hartman is. That's not good. After all of the practices from the Senior Bowl, everybody who was there, the quarterback that they were talking about was Spencer Rattler. Nobody watched that man practice at the Senior Bowl. Watched that man compete with other top-level players and thought to themselves, damn, that's a first-round draft pick. But somehow we get to the draft, and I got to see people I respect, like Joel Klatt, say he's going to go 12th overall. Hey, look, man, if a team wants to take Bo Nix at 12th overall, they think that he's going to be the next, do it. Fine. Cool. I just wouldn't. I don't see a first-round pick there. I think he's similar to Kenny Pickett, another guy who went in the first round that should have been in the third round. And if he was in a normal draft class, he would have went in the third round. I don't see much difference between him as a prospect and Cody Kessler or any other 3rd to day 3 pick that's gone in the last 5 years. He's really not that different. The only reason I think he feels different is because he's a very popular college football player, right? He played at Auburn. He's been in college football forever. And look, to his credit, he's been successful at almost every stop that he's been at in college football. But I don't think that changes the fact that he's just not that good. Maybe he surprises me. Maybe this is a Brock Purdy situation where I'm not seeing it. But yeah, Bo Nix at 24 years old, it's not impressive enough to me to even remotely think about that being a first-round pick. Like, honestly, I'm rooting for him to be a first-round pick because I know the more teams draft a guy like Bo Nix in the first round, the better quality of players will be available for the Browns at 54. So, yeah, not a big fan of Bo Nix. Don't really understand why people are telling themselves that that's a first-round pick. And hell, we got to see these guys up against other quarterback prospects at the Senior Bowl. We got to see him throw with other. Well, I don't think he did throw at the combine, but either way, we saw this man throw at the Senior Bowl with other prospects. He did not look like a first-round pick there. I don't know why he would look like a first-round pick elsewhere. And the tape tells the same story. I don't think this is Justin Herbert, right? Like, there was an argument when Justin Herbert was in Oregon. He was throwing a ton of screens. We weren't able to see the full scope of Justin Herbert's talent. I think this is the opposite of Justin Herbert. I think this is somebody whose talent looks better because he wasn't really asked to do that much in college. And once he got put in a situation like the Senior Bowl to kind of show what he has, it kind of exposed that he is not that uniquely talented of a quarterback prospect. Now, again, this could be a Brock Purdy thing. Brock Purdy wasn't super special coming out of Iowa State. But Brock Purdy's a rare situation to happen. And I don't think that's Bo Nix. So let me know what you guys think. Who are the prospects you don't love in this draft class? Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.